Alien the RPG. Certainly this role-playing game has attracted much attention. It is one of the role-playing games that I regularly play for two reasons. The duality. First, I love the IP. I love the Alien universe. Coming from a Dungeons & Dragons background where you've got magic, you've got spells, everyone's literally a living god, you go from level 1 to level 20 and nothing. There's a lot of challenges. Yeah, it's high fantasy and it's a lot of fun. But Alien, the RPG, you are just, even if you're a colonial marine, you're just a person. And to go up against the perfect organism, that's a challenge that intrigues me. And I also like the mythology. I like the idea of corporate espionage. I like the idea of space exploration, that space is a very dangerous place. Usually what we see in sci-fi space games, they're kind of like high space fantasy. I mean, yeah, there's lasers and psionics and all this type of stuff, and you're exploring it and playing it from that perspective, but space travel is literally like walking down the street. In Alien, the RPG, space travel is very dangerous. It's very complex. There's a lot of unknown. And then, of course, the mythology, getting into explore the engineers, the star gods, the alien, the origin of humanity. I mean, there's a lot of stuff in there. So from that perspective, yes, I'm sold. Secondly, the rules. The rules work really well. I like the idea of panic. I like the idea of combat, campaign play, cinematic play. No rule set is perfect, and by no means is Alien the RPG perfect, but it's tight. It's got bite. It's like 90% up there. It's good. It's effective, and it's easy to pick up really, really fast. So we have two products out that I'm really, really excited about, and I'm going to pick up. And that's not just because I'm a completionist, but because I think they have, partially a completionist, but a lot of interesting value. And it has me excited because what we see with a lot of role-playing games, they tend to have a somewhat high buy-in price. And I don't say that from a critical perspective. We're talking about a medium that is getting more and more expensive to produce, physical mediums, physical books. They need to be somewhat heavy. They need to be good quality. You generally, the selling point of a role-playing game, since it is visual and reading the rules and being pulled into the narrative, you want to have good artwork. You want to have good charts. You want to pull that information in. I mean, that's vital. That's the portal into the imagination. So I want an above, better than average rule book, source book, game book. I do understand that there's digital out there. I do understand that many companies more and more, $50 rule book and $10 PDF or digital. That's important because you can have it on your desktop, on your laptop, on your tablet, on your phone. But the core book more and more is getting expensive. That entry point by having a starter set, the starter set could be a lesser production value. It could be a stripped down set of rules. It could be a bundle of a different adventure. More and more, I think starter sets are important, especially if you want to break in to have something being a little bit more mainstream. And the challenge with this is you have people look and maybe they say, hey, Alien the RPG, and we're just using this as an example. Alien the RPG, I'm intrigued. I'm really, really intrigued. And maybe you've looked at the system, you've looked at some videos online on how to play, maybe some adventures, but you're still a little on the fence. And there's a lot of role-playing games out there. And you might already be playing like one or two other primary systems. Like I play Dungeons & Dragons, a lot of time playing D&D, a lot of time playing Invisible Sun. Now, I knew I'd buy into Alien the RPG, but let's say I was looking at it. If I have to pay for the main book and on top of that a module, and maybe I pick up the specialized dice if the system uses that, that's a significant investment if I'm not entirely sold. But if I can pick up the starter set for $25, $30, and it has an adventure, it has some dice, it has rules, core rules bundled in, then, if I buy it, I play it a few times, I get the price of admission, and on top of that, maybe it inspires me for some adventure ideas for my other games. That's an amazing strategy to buy in. The other thing, so I'm excited to see the starter set. I don't need it because I've got the core book and I know how to play it, and I've got lots of stuff already written, and we've been playing through a campaign, and we've had about 5 or 6 cinematic games, but I'm still going to pick it up because it's an interesting, it's a great resource. Second, the lifeblood is published adventures. Having that aspect. Now, I won't say D&D, 3.0, 3.x, where like they were pumping out an adventure every week. No one could keep up, and a lot of them were not very good. I'd rather have quality over quantity, although some would say quantity is its own quality. But having a few pre-published adventures for 2 reasons. 3 reasons. First is it gives you something to play. You're learning the system. You're new to the rules. Let's just run this. So from my perspective of someone who has run multiple RPG games, multiple systems, I could easily make something up on my own in a moment's notice, just on experience, pulling in different genres and different adventuring paths. But I like to have the pre-printed scenario because it's something I can just literally unpack and run. If you're new to a role-playing game, it is a little bit intimidating to not have an adventure, to make one up yourself, to learn the rules. That's a lot. Learn the rules, execute the rules, and make up your own adventure, your own story. There's a lot there. So having a pre-published adventure is good. And then even if you are one of these people that is completely homebrew, only runs their own stuff, and that's where you go, it's nice to have adventures because you're getting, from the perspective of the IP, from the perspective of the universe, another source book. You're getting another idea of just exactly, it's inspiration. It's stuff that even if you never run it, you could read it, you could pull it in, you could get ideas, you could get aspects, you could see how things are executed in that gaming universe. It essentially becomes a source book. So I'm excited to see more Alien the RPG modules, because right now the source book outside of the game, of course, is the movies, and they're a little bit so disjointed once you move past Aliens, where it's like almost like they branch off into, I feel like I'm in like the Marvel universe, where they're just blowing stuff up and they're like, oh, it's an alternate world, or it's the mirror universe, or the parallel universe, or whatever universe. It's interesting to see how those aspects are pulled in. So I'm very excited to see these 2 pushed out. I'm eagerly awaiting them. And pre-order is going to be in because I think it's a fantastic complement to an already established collection and an already established, a really, really good and exciting system to play.